welcome to another episode, a fantastic episode of the Chris Rod Math Show. This week, not only am I joined by my co-host Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey everyone, good to be back.
But also, we have a fantastic guest with us. We have Andrea Isoni. He's an AI expert, an industry observer, and also he produces every year a report about AI. Hi, Andrea. Great to have you here.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me.
And as I mentioned, you have every year a report about generative AI. The last one came in January 2024, so soon will be 1 year. Our focus today is discuss the report, just debate what happened, what didn't happen, and also maybe get some perspective of what we believe might happen. So, Andrea, when you issue that report, maybe you can share with us what were like the biggest trends that you were seeing in late 2023, in early 2024 for this year, 2024.
Well, there were, first of all, let me clarify the structure of the report, which I think is important, especially for people that, come here and never didn't read it. So there are three main sections of the report. One we call secular trend, so trend and impact for 10 years or more. The other aspect is what we call catalyst trend, so trend that impact the market or society for 5 years or less. And based on these two trends, give an example is aging. Aging is a secular trend. It's going over and over. The population is getting older and older in median way, on average median way. And this is a secular trend. It's going for more than 10 years. It keeps happening. An example of, obviously, if you want, we can get in detail, but example of catalyst trend is the investment, for example, is happening for few years, less than 5 years. I mean, when I say AI investment, I mean Gen AI investment, yeah, specifically. Okay, as less than 5 years, this will be a catalyst trend as a difference. So based on these two things, we go in the first section of the report. I give you some hints, as you say, prediction of what happens in the next 1 or 2 years. And look, at that moment in time, we had it's a bit strange to talk straight on that, but look, definitely one big outcome is the importance of cybersecurity, because the first adopters of AI are usually malicious actors. And yeah, we could see and we could still see that AI, if there is one winner in AI adoption, is cybersecurity, because the more AI is adopted, the more you need to spend or regulate to combat misusage. And that is happening. And then in the consumer market, what is the adoption? We give a bit of adoption was how many people work-wise they were using ChatGPT as an example, but all tools alike. I give a prediction on that. Is obviously increasing. I think we got it roughly right. And then there is a point of this large language model or these large, models, for example, for image generation or things like that, like the diffusion model, things like that. What is going to happen between big tech and, smaller companies? Look, we had a prediction that even the smaller company or the open source, quote, I say quote open source because technically, if you want to get a little bit more in details, it's called open weight, not open source, as in the code is not released, it's just the weight released. But anyway, apart from this distinction, the smaller company / the open source, open weight, lab will catch up with the performances of large model from proprietary, like GPT-4, for example, actually happening. Actually already happened, I think July, August. So the proprietary model don't have still have an advantage, but it's not that big compared to the open weight models. There are others, but I'm sure we can go further ahead with that during the.
And Andrea, the report is very comprehensive for anyone who has not seen it before. And this makes me very curious. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about your background. How is it that you know so much about AI?
Well, look, I'm an academic translated to business. That's all I am. So what it means is after my PhD here, actually, no, I live in London since 2010, actually. after my PhD, I translated directly to what we was in, at least in London, a new field called data science. In fact, I remember very well, the well, for those people that are in London and old enough to remember that Silicon roundabout where there were, a job fair and stuff like that. Yeah, I remember 2014 when I was looking for a job just straight after the PhD. I was looking about, a data scientist jobs. Literally in 2014, recruiter were, what is that? They didn't know exactly. I think I don't know, in Singapore or Greece but in US was already a thing. Here in London, not so much. There were not many jobs available, things like that. But anyway, long story short, I landed in a job as in a big incubator. It's called Founders Factory, at least in London. And then from there, basically, I got rolling. From there, I wrote a book at the right time, at the right moment. It's called Machine Learning for the Web. And then from there, through the consultancy, I work on what's called AI technologies, which I also chief AI officer. I continue to have my hand dirty on very different projects, first of all, and leading a project, because usually the client they want to do something leading edge with AI, from drone technology to anomaly detection for cybersecurity and so forth. So that's why I still on the edge. I still, able to communicate as, as I wrote books and things like that.
Two big themes in your report are the regulatory evolution and also the investment landscape. Chris, is there anything from that struck especially so that caught your eyes that you were especially excited about or maybe like curious?
Thank you, Rod. Andrea, I'd be super interested in, sort of tell us what you think is the landscape of, you were mentioning cybersecurity being the one that actually got the better half out of AI. And I guess everyone is very sensitive, especially in Europe. Data privacy is obviously a big topic, GDPR. There's the EU Act.
Sure.
And I know from a lot of conversations with larger and smaller companies that is one of the top concerns and top question marks of whether or not they will adopt anything on AI side. So what is your take on this?
Okay. So first of all, there are one distinction you need to make. So the EUI Act, which by the way, come into force in 1st of August this year, is a horizontal approach, yeah, which means one body of law regulate all the industry across all the industries. There are other. I'm not sure about Singapore, I have to be honest, but there are other government like the federal government US or Israel or something like that. They want a vertical approach. Even the UK has a vertical approach to date, which means within every sector, let's say healthcare, financial services, there is an authority, healthcare authority or financial conduct authority for financial services, etc. Within them is their job, if they think there is a need for an extra clause in the regulation they already have, to add on it. Okay, so that's the first distinction to have. The UAI Act, as I say, is across the industry, the same law applicable to everyone and on the industries, and there are the main principle is it's not for business. First of all, is designed to save or protect beings or life or human life. Okay, so from inadvertent effect of AI, that's their job. It's not necessarily meant for hindering business. That's the first thing to say. That said, there are 4 tiers in that, and the most important one are the limited risk, high risk. Because if it's very low risk, you don't need to know anything. If it's too high risk, like weapon and things like that, you shouldn't do it anyway, unless particular regulation, defense, things like that. But the most important part, therefore, so are the two in the middle, the limited risk tier and the high risk tier. What is limited risk? Is anything that doesn't affect directly the life of people, which means customer service, for example. If you broke, I don't know, a mag or something, and you contact the customer service, hey, the life of the person is not in danger to talk with, the customer service chatbot about your mag. On the contrary, if for example, there is an AI that scores your examination for whatever exam will be, or for whatever certificate, or even university studies for the matter. That is very important because it will affect your life for the future. The outcome of the result will affect your life for the future. Therefore, is considered high risk. Okay. Now, in terms of limited risk, up to 12 months since August, so you have about 12 months, 1 year, to be, to comply with the regulation. We basically mean you need to provide, as I recall, a small essay what the model is and what you're doing with that, a small, description what the data are inside. Yeah, so it's not too much. There are a lot of things, but it's gonna be too long. I'm already talking too much. But there are a risk instead. If you are a risk, that's where the effort and basically you need to spend a bit of money to be regulated, because it's not enough to do a snapshot or tell me just what the data is, what you're doing with that, stuff like that. But you need to have proper system in place, which means you need to have a procedure in place to check the accuracies, or a proper response, incident response, procedure when the things go wrong, everything documented and things like that. And that's obviously costs more money, and that's where the company, I think, is way more reluctant to use AI in an industry where you need to be or regulated. First of all, that's to give a setup on that. Is your question what the company should do? What's exactly interested about that?
No, I think this is really helpful already to like just get an overview. I mean, just last week, Rod and Max, we were talking about copyright on images and how to like actually deal with it. I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but also super happy to hear what your view is on the impact of companies.
The impact of companies. So if you are already very regulated, a very large company, let's say a financial service big bank, yeah, you can still do it, but it will be very slow to implement. To give an example, should I say, okay, JP Morgan, I know for a fact, if you want to do one POC, it takes 1 year for one jurisdiction. It's not just the implementation of it, yeah. It's about regulation, etc. To make all that compliant, to pass all the hurdles, it takes 1 year. And necessary so they have already regulated financial service. Addition to that, you need to have more compliance for the AI system. Yeah. So yes, if you see the AI is going a bit slower in actual adoption by companies, it's not for any other reason. It's because they need to pass all the hurdles, etc., in an already bureaucratic situation, and they will create more time. For mid and small enterprise, a little bit different in the sense that they need to have an urge to implement that. Yeah. So because it costs money for them. Yeah. So big company is not a question of money, it's a question of how can we do fast enough. Smaller companies or mid to large companies is not a question how can we do it fast. It's just a question, can we just is gonna have a return on investment for us to to actually doing it? That's the biggest concern for them. And on that, I don't have one single answer for that, but if they find a very useful use case for them, they go very fast. Otherwise, they are just look. I was talking about a mid-sized company yesterday for a scoring system for exam, and they say, yeah, we are interested, but let's see what happens because for us it's a big investment.
Talking about investments, I'm sure that Max has many ideas and things that he saw from the report that he would like to ask you.
Yeah, from an investment perspective, I think a couple of things, right? The first thing, Andrea, thank you so much for joining. I think you mentioned about vertically and horizontally doing the way in which regulators are trying to regulate. And that is something I am thinking, I guess, from an investor perspective, right? If you were to advise a company on where to set up, how do you think about that? And I think from you as a practitioner as well, right? So you're from academic turn to practitioner. How do you think about the horizontal way of, I guess, regulating and the vertical way, and then it will help me to figure out where to pick what to invest in.
Where you mean, where in means of jurisdiction, country, you mean, right?
Jurisdiction
Yeah.
and industry.
Okay, so and well, first of all, jurisdiction. We live in a weird, strange world. What I mean by that is, without saying too much name, etc., even if your jurisdiction doesn't allow it, what happens is, okay, you outsource in other country, Indonesia, Philippines, or stuff like that, where is allowed to use AI with less regulation. You do the things there that you bring back in the very regulated country. Basically, it's a kind of an offshore kind of mechanism. Now, you like it or not like, in fact, one of my posts on LinkedIn shortly is, I think this year, is it's going to happen that we, at least for the time being, we'll have kind of an offshore AI country to do the stuff. Like, it's also in biology, if you think about it. There are very strict regulation on animal treatment on, for, testing or stuff like that. You cannot do certain things in certain country. Fair enough. You go in certain country where it's allowed. And well, but the reality is everyone reap the benefit, right? When something is discovered through testing, yes, it's brutal testing. And I know, by the way, I know, no, I'm not saying neither is right or wrong. I'm just saying the fact. You do certain tests in certain countries, and then everyone else reap the benefit, because when something is discovered, the medicine or the treatment whatsoever, everyone else benefit from that. So this is kind of one of the things that is happening. In terms of industries, look again, cybersecurity. There is a very interesting thought on. So if you go in OECD, OECD.org, so yeah, you're nodding. So it's an organization that does report, etc. So there is a one chart about cyber-related AI incident. Yeah, and it's very, very interesting, because if you see the chart on the number of these incidents related to AI in cybersecurity, there is a steep curve and jump since November 2022. Guess what? ChatGPT release, and then about July, August, it start to decline. The peak and start to decline. And guess what? This is exactly the EU AI Act. You can see online, if you everyone there, OECD Cyber Security Index, something like that. Apologies, I don't remember correctly. I can look at it if you want. Why I'm saying that? Because cybersecurity, to me, is the one that, at least in this period, 2022, 2024, is the one that reap the benefit of that. When I say reap the, look, AI is investing, yeah? Every investor, we can talk about that more, but is putting the money in at the moment. It's not cashing in. It's just putting the money in. That's the moment. In cybersecurity, yes, they are putting the money in, but they are cashing in also. That's the difference. That's why I'm saying cybersecurity is actually the winner, because it's not only investing, but it's also cashing in. That's the big difference on that. So if there is one industry I would pick that it still is very in infancy, as in terms of growth, etc., it will be even more the more we adopt these technologies. Absolutely, cybersecurity.
Thank you so much. That is super interesting, and it reminds me of what Stanley Druckenmiller was talking about. He was a legendary investor. Obviously, his time frame of investing is about 18 months. And basically, when AI kicked off, what happened was he started looking into the entire value chain and tried to figure out where the new players are. And somehow he got onto Nvidia. It was really, really early.
Sure.
So a little bit like what you're talking about here is around the cybersecurity side, because of the AI pickup, that before that already rising, but at the same time, because of AI pickup, is going to take off even more. I guess that's super interesting. And then another question I have, sorry, Andrea, I'm hogging the mic now, so I'm talking too much now. Um, Another question that I have, you talk a little bit about, within the report, you talk a little bit about, I guess, data generation, synthetic versus, I guess, original data. Love to hear a little bit about that, because almost always it felt like, we keep talking about AI. One of the core things that you need is the computation power, but the other thing that you need is around data. And love to hear a little bit about your thoughts, right? How are you seeing, are we really running out of data? All right, number one. Number two, and if it is, what are we supposed to do about it?
Yeah, it's a never-ending. First of all, it's a never-ending problem. I will not have a definite answer, but that's what I can say. First of all, kick out that hype. In fact, it was 2018. I came out in one of first of all in one of my best posts in terms of visibility and visualization and all metric or engagement I could have is data is oil, quote, is a myth. And then I'm going to explain to that. And this post is 2018. Yeah. So that is something that I think is still necessary to remember, because people think I have a lot of data, therefore I worth a lot. Sadly, it's not like that at all. It wasn't like that. And let me explain at least that, because it's important. Once you have a lot of data, it depends what it is. It really depends. I mean, because it can be very repetitive. If you have a lot of the same type of data, if you come Control C all the time and create a longer file, this file doesn't create more value, right? It's just longer, but it's the same exact information. So if you have a lot of clients, but all the clients are more or less the same pattern, doesn't add more value. The value is when you see different things that you couldn't access, so therefore you can extract insight. But the moment you do it, it's not that enlarging and replicating the same thing, it creates more value. It doesn't work that way. And that's the first thing to remember. So therefore, yes, we will. That said, most of the AI model to date are undertrained. To give an example, I think it's GPT-3. I think it's GPT-3. I'm going from memory now, which I don't remember how many million on neurons has. But regardless, Wikipedia English was 1% of the training data. 1%. All Wikipedia English. Therefore, yes, we need more data. Yes, absolutely. But the problem is how you create the data. And the way at the moment in the industry we solve that is, have you heard about Scale AI and all these companies? So basically, people that employ an army of people that label the model, retrain the model, help the model to train with math, etc. That's the way you solve at the moment. Yes, we need more data. It's not exactly true, because it's not data as a quantity. It's do you see the point? That's why I'm making that again. That's why there are these train and Scale AI as an army of people that took out the model, teaching them. It's not just the data itself, it's the way you insert into that. Not sure if it's clear. It's not the ball there, here we go, pam, value. No, it's the way. That's why all these companies value billion, right? Because it's not just the data the person has insert, it's the way they training on that make the value. No, hopefully it's clear. Yeah, on the synthetic data part, yes, there will be, but there is a threshold how much the synthetic data could be, because if it's too much, it's gonna to feed itself and you get distant from reality some point. Now, where the threshold is, look, depends on the industry, depends on what you're doing, But yes, of course, there will be far more important synthetic data. And again, depend on the industry. Give an example. I work a lot in cybersecurity, as you probably say too many times. Not only, by the way, I'm sure we're going to example outside that. But anyway, come back to cyber. In cyber, there is a problem. Yes, you can have as much data as you want. It's interesting if you want to catch things they already know, but the reality is hacker or malicious actor are trying new things every time, which is not possible to have in any data of any sort. So what you're gonna do is create a synthetic data that mimic what it's gonna do next. From there, but it's not a quantity thing. It's a question of what the hacker is gonna try next. Oh, they can try this. Okay, let's mimic that so we can feed in a model and so detect it. It's not quantity metrics. It's more intelligent than that. Hopefully it's clear.
We're taking so far the macro perspective, but looking, let's say, at the micro one, the adoption and so on. In your report, Andrea, you had that 14% of the US population was already using Gen AI by January 2024.
Yeah.
Which trends have you seen in terms of adoption? Has it been increasing? So is this percentage now higher at the end of 2024? Is it more or less stable? What's going on there?
First of all, I think we got it right. Which always is a nice thing to say. I think we say 30% at least once in the report they will be using by 2025. And we are more or less that. Look, I was reading a report from Gallup a few days ago, And obviously, so there was a big, I think I remember, it's for 4% using daily, 4% using daily. Yeah. Another 7% use once a week, once a month, 8%, etc. If you combine all of that, so at least once is 33%. And we say 30. So we got it. And that's for Gallup. Now there are more optimistic. Gallup, I think, is at least so far what I see today. By the way, it's important as we say at the beginning. I'm not sure it was on the recording, but I move very fast. It's important to mention that we are recording 2nd of December, just in case.
Correct,
But
yes.
anyway, by the 2nd of December, Gallup was there. I don't remember what it was. November, it was a November report or blog post, whatever it is. McKinsey is another one. Is way more optimistic, saying that in companies, I don't remember the number. Apologies, but it's more than 4% daily, at least work wise. Yeah. And so what I'm seeing is definitely there is a lot more. People are using a lot more, at least once. What I mean by that, let's put it that way. My judgment today, 2nd of December, people at least tried this technology way more than before. The actual adoption number, the core adoption number, I mean the people they're using their daily, yeah, is worldwide still a 1-2 digit number, low digit number, but it's important to understand where they're using it. I mean, it's basically for doing that, you can look at the traffic, similar web, etc. So you look at the traffic of on ChatGPT website and things like that, and see where the traffic is coming from which countries, and that's very interesting, as we say and that's we saw also in the report, because yes, of course, it's US, that's okay, but there are the countries that you less suspect so in the top 5 or top 10, depending on the situation. It move a lot by month, by the way. We obviously look at it quite frequently. So basically, there are countries like India, Indonesia, Argentina. They have a huge chunk of the total traffic of GDP, like 10% or more. 15, something like that for India. By the way, even that we predicted, not first world country will have a significant traffic in that. And the reason for that, by the way, is because we are outsourcing to them. So here what happened in UK or US, before ChatGPT, doesn't matter. If you want software developer on certain services or PA, assistants, things like that, you usually go in this country because the labor costs less. Okay. Now with ChatGPT, naively we thought, okay, we are gonna replace the job. No, that what happened is we still outsource to them, and they outsource to ChatGPT. That's exactly what's happening. There are reasons for that. If you want, we can get a little bit more into detail, but it's quite obvious why it's happening like that. So therefore, you will see in terms of the total traffic, so the total usage of this tool is not only US, but the outsourcing country are taking a huge chunk because they're actually the one that are making the benefit of using it.
And it's not only companies or actually people are adopting these technologies. Also, companies are trying to not only adopt them, but also label themselves as AI first. So we are looking at this recent report from a few weeks ago where Zoom, the famous video company for web calls and so on, now is moving away from video technology and labeling itself as AI first technology. Chris, you're all the time supporting, advising companies and so on. Are you seeing this trend as well from former SaaS, former whatnot, and now all of a sudden we're an AI company?
Maybe like Andrea, I should write my predictions for a year and then see how many of those actually come true. But indeed, I mean, a couple of episodes ago, I was suggesting this AI first organization. I believe it was with you, Max, and Bardeen. What was the other one? Automated, actually. Yeah, true. And so what was the concept? The concept was essentially to think about existing business models, but instead of thinking about it from like a human organization, to think of it, if you have now the capability of AI and of course AI agents on the rise, like how else would you actually structure your organization as an AI first company? That was sort of like the premise. And so obviously when Zoom said that they're now an AI first company, that would really piqued my interest. And I was like, okay, what does that even mean? And looking into some of the reports out there, it seems, first of all, it's a very markety kind of thing that they're trying to do. So, for example, as you said before, Rod, like dropping the video out of a communication company, and I believe they try to like create new features that are very similar to what is anyways out there, like a chat function which looks a little bit like Teams, Microsoft Teams, or Slack. So I'm not really 100% sure what they essentially mean when they think about AI first, but I assume they're trying to implement more AI features within their own organization and also in their products, and somehow then become AI first. But I don't know, Andrea, you've been nodding your head. What's your take on it?
So from the report 2024 again, we say that there will be a trend. This is on our prediction or model or things like that. I don't remember exactly. I can say that. I can tell you for the people that may want to look at it. I'm referring to is when I talk about small models. Yeah, it's the prediction trend prediction one. Yeah, adoption AI model in industry. So we thought that large models, due to regulation, etc., is going to be split in smaller models because smaller models are more controllable, so you have less governance, it's easy to train, etc., etc., blah blah blah. And specific when it's smaller, it's not written there, but with smaller in mind, it also means it's narrower in scope, which means it will do something specific to that. And I couldn't see at the moment that smaller also means a new buzzword coming up, which was the agent. Smaller, what we call, what you call an agent is actually a smallest niche model specific for a function. That's what it is. We didn't call it agent. This buzzword wasn't a thing. January 2024, but it's happening now. So when they say AI first, you need to understand there are specific tasks, specific mode. It's a blending of RPA. Are you familiar with RPA? Should I spend a little bit RPA, robot process automation? Yeah. So basically,
Yes.
just quickly, yeah. So yeah.
Give
So
us a quick overview what is RPA for those who do not know it, Andrea.
yeah, very quickly on that. So our RPA, robot process automation, it actually means that you have a process of different tasks, but very simple one. Yeah, it can be a spreadsheet in Excel in which you need to take data from the company, copy and paste the different columns, and then send an email to one of these columns, things like that. Yeah, a process like that. Yeah. There are RPA vendors already. They literally do that for you instead of you manually had to click, copy and paste all of that and then send manually all the emails on the process. Yeah. Now, these agents is blending with RPA. What it means with that is not only you can do the manual process, repetitive tasks with no intelligence whatsoever, well, in addition to that, for example, in the process of, you need to send the operating manager the data about last month's inventory or whatever it is, yeah? And on top of that, you can add a quote with this new agent specific on that. It will be a new agent specifically trained on the data of your own company, yeah, smaller model, just training on that, and say, okay, and then add a description, a summary that, create a bit of report in verbose mode. So there's a summary, verbose, a summary, yeah? And that with a small narrow train and LLM is possible. So what is happening is this agent will be specific and tailor-made for that, and there will be a platform, yeah, already emerging, already there, in which the company got there, okay, I need this AI agent model to do the process and to refrain and to write the email to the operation manager, whatever. And it will do just that. Okay, very niche, very specific what you have to do. And this is one agent kind of thing. So it's a blending of RPA, the process, and the actual something a little bit more intelligent, which is drafting an email. Yeah. We could see already, I think Claude last month released a new feature. I don't know what they call it, Anthropic, Claude from Anthropic, in which you can type, like, go on the web, take the first two link on the page and put in another document, and it will actually do that, which is, you see, it's going to RPA. They're gonna cannibalize on the RPA, because from text you can create a process, go on there, and then protect, things like that.
Cannibalization is a great keyword. And Max, as an investor, have you seen that? Have you seen that entrenched players are seeing their business model cannibalized by new AI entrants, especially now with multimodal models, agents, and so on?
Sorry, Andrea, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
no,
And
I
then I'll
want.
jump
Yeah,
in.
there is a chance to cannibalize, but they still have time. That's what I just wanted to clarify. So
So,
RPA vendor, if they move now, they have all the time to implement LLM model on their system and basically continue to say what they do, but in an advanced way. That's all I want to say. But if they don't do it, definitely they'll be cannibalized. Please, sorry.
yeah, so thank you so much, Andrea. That's good clarification. So my question, I guess, the cannibalization basically happens with the RPA providers, less so on the folks who actually know the process. This is something that I'm struggling with. So when I look at an AI agent, let's say they do a vertical AI, let's say they do, I don't know, financial analysis is the market that I know a little bit better. The process to analyze a financial statement, right? It comes down to only a few things, really, right? If you go to a trader, they will look at a giant eight screen, but only depends on the trade, only 8 to 10 things that really matters to him at that moment in time. So if you build an AI agent, what you're really trying to do is take that process out of him, basically trying to track those metrics and give him some sort of idea on what to trade next, and he will probably verify it himself. I guess the question that I have is, how differentiated is that? Because every other trader on the street would probably do the same. And if you're a larger organization, I don't know, finance is one of them. Let's say I go down to, I don't know, supply chain, right? How do you process one thing compared to the other? It's probably quite specific to a certain organization. And therefore, if you were to create a vertical AI for that specific area, the question that I have is, how do you even deal with graduation risk eventually? Because you could build the AI agent for this large organization, and eventually the large organization will think, oh, this is important enough that we will want to eventually build it ourselves. Uh, so there is that like defensibility question that I keep having in my head that I do not know how to reconcile yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you have any thoughts,
yeah, no, of
yeah.
course I do. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was talking for someone, no, I'm not disclosing the source in this case, but I can also talk to a large consultancy company, the biggest one you can imagine. And they were saying, yeah, sure. And they were working with large company as well, because large consultancy usually large company, yeah. I asked that, look, instead of using OpenAI system or things like that, or Microsoft tool or Copilot, whatever it is, why don't you use large language model that are open source, the same quality, it costs less, etc.? Well, it's very simple. Insurance. When you use Copilot, for example, Microsoft has a liability. So to come back to your question, of course they can put inside, but the liability will be all on them. So yeah, well, they will do it only on the matter they really want to take the liability inside themselves. Now, will company do that? Not sure. That's exactly why big, large tech companies still sell. It's not because Ubuntu, for example, which is a Linux computer, is worse than Microsoft Windows or something like that. It's the fact that Windows has a liability on it. So that's
So
the
some sort of
short answer.
insurance.
Yeah, that's the short answer. Now, not to say that some company will do it. Of course, they will do it, but it's very specific, as in they're a very tech-prone company. The organization has the right mentality and approach. You see what I mean? But it's not something that is gonna scale on any company, because it's that certain companies are less tech prone than others, right? And less, and maybe this function is less important, or sometimes very important, but they also want to cover some insurance as well, insurance/liability elsewhere. So it's not as, all I'm trying to say is not as straightforward. Okay, we can do in-house. Yes, it will cost less. Somehow, yes, then we'll do it. Doesn't work that way. There is an incentive to do it. Yes. On top of that, because when you're doing something in-house, then now you have a team, and doing that is the only way, my judgment, they do is the company become as I think say AI first company, which means they really want to, instead of doing their focusing on the service, they now need to focus on the technology of the service. It's literally a shift. Certain company will do it, but I don't think I couldn't see many company will do it, because at the end of the day, most company want to provide the service more on the sales rather than actually building something and maintaining it.
And Andrea, so we are still in December, and earlier you mentioned that the next report for 2025 will be published in late January. So we still have 2 months. However, if you could still share with us, maybe reveal some trends that you are observing, some things that you think, hey, maybe likely will make it to the report, what will that be?
Yeah. So when it's a bit early, as you said, so I cannot really tell you that. But one thing I can look, there is one thing we're already and imagining now, because of we've seen the data already, is what is going to happen with GPU. Okay. Bear in mind, this is still in progress and things like that. But in January, there should be the new release of the NVIDIA GPU, which is called Blackwell. And basically, we are going to have a massive performance improvement. Yeah. And with this performance improvement, it's a bit technical, but the first thing is we have already seen that electricity is going to go down in consumption in the new performance, because during the year we have seen that yes, AI both for inference, which basically when you use ChatGPT, or training when you actually build the model, is consuming a lot of energy. Okay, this was true. It wasn't true, but there was a linear prediction. Basically, they take the energy consumption of those training model and say, if we have the same training energy amount, extrapolate to the future, we have a huge number. Thanks God, if you believe in God, the models and the training way increase in efficiency over time. Yeah. And it's non-linear. So there is a 20-30% in the next generation of NVIDIA minimum or energy efficiency, and 10-20% on the next generation. So that number is non-linear. It will be I believe we're gonna be manageable. Yeah. Okay. That's the first thing. Now, how much manageable, how much far away, bear with us. We're still not clear, but definitely there is a huge energy improvement. On top of, by the way, also the performance improvement, not to say, but I think that was the most striking thing, because on the news is thinking that, the energy is going to, balloon very soon. No, very soon is in control, because the vendor, in this case NVIDIA, but also the other, are improving a lot the efficiency of the model, especially for inference. Yeah. I will continue to do so. There is no reason not to believe they are going to continue to increase the efficiency, the energy efficiency of the hardware. Therefore, the linear extrapolation are wrong. Now we can discuss how much wrong, etc. But that's the first thing. On the hardware side, we still think that, look, NVIDIA will still be dominant in the corporate space. Yeah. Corporate, I mean large corporate, large data centers, things like that. While for cost-effective solution, AMD still have a chance. For various reasons, it's too long to say that. That's all I can say, and that's all other implication, because hardware implication implicate on software and implicate on consumer, blah, 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 blah. That's a cascade, right? Follow-up chain. But that's all I can say today.
So Can I just really quickly, Andrea? That's
Yeah.
super interesting. So three things I get out of it. Number one, you mentioned like how, models are getting more efficient, energy resources are not really going to be a problem simply because it will
Not
just become more.
not soon, as they say, because it looked like they
No,
was
soon.
gonna
Yeah.
happen tomorrow. No, no, gone.
Yeah. And number two, it's around hardware, right? So you have the Nvidia, which is the, on the large corporate side, but then you think that other players in the space, AMD being one of them, but they might still have opportunity going at the smaller, I would say cheaper and smaller models. And then I think if I were to tie that to your idea earlier on, which is around the outsourced AI countries. And then if I were to tie all of that, it feels like okay, the Western countries are dominating. Everyone's talking about AI is a rich country game, but somehow you're outsourcing a lot of the data stuff out to other places as well. So if I were to take like a stack, you almost have like the energy, the hardware, and the data, and then like energy and hardware feels like it's somehow being solved at the moment, and the data is not entirely solved. We're still outsourcing to someone else to help to label them. So it feels like that is where some of the opportunities could be. It's just interesting to hear.
Yeah, it could be as a generalization. Yes, I
Yeah.
kind of agree. Obviously, there are a lot of nuances.
Of
Okay,
course. Yeah.
I don't want to, because otherwise. But
Yeah.
overall, yes, I think hardware in terms of energy efficiency is going way better. And performance as well. The data labeling, etc. We don't, because at the end of the day, this model we don't know enough about how this model works. That's the reality of it. So it's not only the data that is missing; it's also the us is not understanding why there is hallucination. Sometimes nobody exactly know why there is hallucination in this one.
Yeah. It's philosophical as well, right? Nothing is true. You can't really truly understand everything. It's almost a
No,
reflection of it, like a result of it that we understand,
correct.
but not really how it
No.
works. Interesting.
Andrea, it has been something where you had this report in 2024. Most of the predictions you were telling us that they were correct. I'm sure that the one for 2025 will also be very bold
I'm
in the
not telling
predictions
you.
and likely.
Sorry. Just I'm not saying. Please, everyone listening to this, not to take my mind. Just read the report. They will see if this was something right or wrong. It's not to me to judge if I was right or wrong. I mean, they are there.
Absolutely.
You can read it and see if they were right or wrong. Sorry to interrupt. I thought it was.
And so they have to read this report. So where can they find this report? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active, Andrea Isoni. Or if they want to do the report, there are two ways to download it for free. One is stateofartificialintelligence.com. Yeah, you will find it there. Or the other one is from aitechnologies.co, not M, and they'll go in AI Insights section. You will find all the reports there.
Fantastic. Well, with this, we can wrap up today's show. We discussed so much about what happened in 2024, some things that we believe for 2025. And as usual, remember, you can like our show, give your comments, subscribe, tell us what you like, what you not like. And remember to tune in every Monday for another episode of the Chris Roth Max Show. Thank you for being here, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.